Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. My name is Cesar Hernandez, and today we're going to be talking about the relegation mess. We're going to be talking about the Liga MX playoffs and a little bit about Chicharito at the very end. But before we get into that, let me introduce tonight's guest. Over in Guadalajara, we have Tom Marshall. Tom, it sounds like someone's having a birthday party at your house, man.
It's not even my house. It's the next door neighbours, but I don't know. You know what it's like. Yeah, there seems to be quite a few people in the next door's house. Well, the house opposite mine. And it's not. It's I don't live in a bloody mansion, so you can often hear the neighbours.
All right, and then over in Mexico
You'll learn
City,
to live with it. You'll learn to live with it.
over in Mexico City, we have Adriana Terrazas. Are you living in a mansion, or I'm not sure if anybody I know lives in a mansion.
I am not. I wish I had neighbors just like Tom's, because I could probably just go in and like have a go at the piñata or something. Happy Children's Day, by the way.
Happy Children's Day.
That's not. Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
That's not something we have here in the United States. So I'm still like a little like I get it. I'm a little confused by it, but I didn't really have that growing up, having the whole Kids Day thing. I think
Kids
it was just
Day today, Mother's Day next weekend, then like tomorrow's Workers' Day. Basically every day is a day. And it's like Teacher's Day, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah. It's like, I don't know. I mean, every day is a day.
and today is Mexican Soccer Show Day.
Yeah, of course. It has to be on a Monday. My kids got to go to school today, but people don't go to work tomorrow, so it's just like a mess. So yeah, let's just talk some Liga MX.
like the relegation system.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, guys, let's get into today's big question. Sorry, there was a little bit of delay with speaking of the mess, there's just a mess with the setup here. Tom was cursing while trying to figure out his headphone situation. But anyway, we figured out so we couldn't send out the big question, which we usually send out like 30 minutes beforehand, but we're sending it out now. But if you guys want to provide some answers on the YouTube chat, I'll read out some of the answers there. But here's a big question, and we're going to start with Adriana. Adriana, which team will be the dark horse for the league title this season?
I think if it had to be a dark horse, I would go with Xolos, maybe. I think that's like the least probable one. Yeah.
Xolos. Okay. I mean, I've been following
I think nobody's expecting much from him. I'm expecting more from Monarcas, and they're 8th place. So, yeah, I guess Xolos just didn't have that really... they weren't a team we talked about much during the regular season. They were just standing there 6th, 7th place, not doing much, not being the offensive Xolos we're usually used to. We usually have like a really good squad with a like top goal scorer, and none of that happened. And somehow they made it to the Liguilla. So I guess that would be the dark horse this season.
I mean, I've been following them all season over here, just close to my house, and I definitely am a little surprised, just a little bit, that they qualified for playoffs. Tom, for you, who's the dark horse for the league title? I think we've got some problems there. Oh,
well, sorry. Me. Like, I think you got Toluca, America, Monterrey, and Tigres, and I think the champion's going to come for one of them. So I don't know. I'd say out of the ones that remain, I'd say Santos. I know Santos are going in with 3 losses, but I didn't think they were that bad against America. I thought the previous weekend against Pumas, they actually played really well, and they were pretty. For me, they were unlucky. I was at the game actually, and I don't know. They had a ridiculous amounts of shots, and the ball just wouldn't go in. So I'd say Santos. I think with Giannini, if he finds some form, he doesn't need much Giannini. We've seen 14 goals this season. He can make the difference. And so you look at kind of Santos Tigres and you think, obviously Tigres are favourites, even though they finished below Santos. But, with a player like Giannini and just being real underdogs, I think Santos have got a chance. And I don't know. Morelia and Pumas, I don't think will do much at all. I doubt Tijuana will as well. And I think the big question mark for me is Toluca. I mean, are they a real force? I think the regular season's been so good. I think there's still, for me anyway, there's still a question mark over him, which is, I don't know, probably people won't agree with that, but I don't know. That's how I see it.
I mean, it sounds weird, but is it weird that the first team that came to mind was Toluca, even though they're number 1 seed? Is that a little weird? It's just like I can't not think about that, because when I think of the strong candidates, I would say Tigres first, and then it's between Monterrey and America. And then after that, I think it's kind of up in the air. So it feels weird for me to think that somehow the number 1 seed, Toluca, that they are somehow a dark horse for the title, just because of how powerful Monterrey and Tigres are. So I guess it's a little unfair for me to say Toluca because they are the number 1 seed. So I'm gonna go with I'll go with Santos. Yeah, I guess you can't pick the number. I feel like you officially can't pick the number 1 seed as a dark horse. But Santos, like, from what Tom said. Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
No, the interesting thing about the ones that we picked out, you look at the striker. I mentioned Giannini there, but Nico Castillo with Pumas. If he has a good game, he's perfectly capable of doing big damage. And the same with Bo. Bo's back now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back, but he's playing a weird position. But that's a different conversation right there. He's like not playing the out and out striker. He's almost playing a little to left a little bit. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's players there that on the day they can do damage, and Morelia, obviously Rui Diaz, who's been one of the best players in the league for the last couple of years. So I think I don't know, it's worth pointing out.
No, that's all excellent points. But yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about a striker who could really change the game, I think once again, I mean, if we're talking about the dark horses, I do have to bring up Santos again, just because of what Giannini has done, what he'll continue to do. And it's interesting to see after such an incredible season where he even missed out on a couple games due to an injury. He could have had more than 14 goals, which is kind of crazy to think about, but we'll see what he does during the playoffs. So guys, before we get into the playoff talk, we have to talk about the relegation mess. I mean, it's just, I think here's a quick rundown from my understanding. So, obviously in the second division, Alebrijes de Oaxaca and Cafetaleros from Tapachula, they both qualified for the promotional final, but both don't meet the first division requirements to earn a spot for promotion. So, because of that, Lobos BUAP, who are supposed to be relegated, can now pay a fee of 120 million pesos to stay up. And if Lobos BUAP don't pay that fee, instead of 18 teams next season, Liga MX is going to have 17 teams. So, I mean, Adriana, I mean, just what I mean, it's a mess, isn't it? Like, I know, what are your thoughts on this issue?
This is Liga MX at its best, just showing us they want to have a 20 league system in 2 years. And somehow we're actually going farther away from that number than getting closer. That's just amazing. I don't even think they could do something like that.
I was going to bring that. No, sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's just crazy because, Lobos doesn't have the money. They just don't have it. It's a public university. They don't have the money. So apparently a group of investors could be interested in. They say that Volkswagen, which usually was sponsoring Puebla, was looking into it because they actually have a fight or they have some kind of quarrel with Puebla. They didn't fulfill some needs they had the last time they had a commercial agreement. So then apparently Lobos BUAP is now looking for an investor. They have 11 days to find the investor that will be willing to give 120 million pesos. But if you look at it, it's actually a really good investment because you know that team won't be relegated for the next 4 years. So with TV rights and all the other commercial things you could get, it's probably a good opportunity. But still, just looking for someone to hand in 120 million pesos in the next 11 days might just be a bit complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, Tom, I mean, it's all extremely complicated, isn't it? And especially if you're a casual fan. Can you imagine if you're a casual fan trying to get into Liga MX right now and just looking at this and just wondering, like, what is going on?
I work in the game and I'm wondering what the hell's going on. I don't know. I mean, I understood it this season would be, nothing would change. I'm pretty sure Bonilla said at the meeting, I think in April or March, no, nothing changes until the following season, and then this all kicks in. And so, I'm a bit confused about that because I don't know if I understood that right or he subsequently said something different. But so that's weird. And then I don't know. I just don't think they've thought it through properly. They've come out with this statement. It's like we saw with the Liga MX Femenil. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we all praised the league coming out, but I don't think they thought about it at all. And you can see that because just like 2 weeks before the league starts, the Mexican American players suddenly can't play, and they just make up this rule. And then we've seen it with the Players Association as well, where they've kind of they've hashed something together now, where a temporary solution. I don't know. I mean, it's the way the league works as well. It's not very central. So you've got all these owners who all have different opinions, and they have to kind of come to a consensus. And I think that's what this is the result. You see a decision making that isn't very clear. I think what is clear is that they need to change this relegation system. I mean, it's not worked, and I think you have to praise them for kind of, at least they're trying to at least they're talking about the problem, because a few years ago they weren't, and it was equally as it was very complicated to get into. But these days now I don't know, what Adriana said there. I mean, if Lobos buy the way back into the league, then instantly the value of that franchise is increased, and in theory they could sell it in 2 months' time and make millions and millions of dollars. It's just like, it just makes no sense. But now you've got this ridiculous situation where they have to scramble together the money, and it's a public university, like Adriana said there. So it's like, I mean, what's going on? I mean, I think it's clear what they want to do, the league. I think they want, obviously they've got these, say 17 teams now. I don't think anybody wants Lobos WAP in the league anyway. I mean, I'm not talking about, people around the game, but
people who cover the game. Yeah, I think we wanted them there, Tom.
But like people in charge, people looking at the future of this league, because they had very little. They're not big players. The stadiums, pretty small. They don't have any fans. I mean, there's a lot of things that they want Juarez in there, who've got owners that are ridiculously rich. They want perhaps, Celaya in there, or perhaps Leones Negros, or Dorados, or Zacatepec even. These are the teams that they kind of would, vastly prefer it. But if you have a relegation system that's based on sporting being good, then you can't guarantee who's going up. So they're in this dilemma now of, how do we guarantee the clubs that we want to go up actually go up? And I can't see any other way of doing it apart from buying your way in. I don't think you can I don't think you can do it on the sporting side, because you're always going to get a Lobos WAP. You're going to get a bloody Cafetaleros. You're going to get a Oaxaca. Tapachula, basically, from what I've heard, has a massive government influence in that team. And that's the other thing the Liga MX doesn't want. That's why, they don't want any government interference in these teams. So it's just, like you said, it's a mess. It's a real mess.
Yeah. On the chat, Javier Hernandez, I think we figured out that Javier Hernandez is not Chicharito, but if it is Chicharito, that's pretty cool. He said this relegation situation is an absolute disaster. Kerry Torres says the relegation mess is like an episode of Club de Cuervos. It's so sad. I sent out a tweet the other day with just like a guy taking notes, and just the little caption said like "Club de Cuervos writers like right now," just like like everything that's going on.
Adriana, I didn't think it was great for Bonilla came straight out after the game, right on the final whistle.
Yeah, didn't even think about it. It was like, I thought what it was interview, like maybe he went up to like a table, maybe there's a conference, but it's just like him in some like locker. It was like, did he just like think of that on the spot and just kind of say that's, I don't know if that's what you're about to say, Tom, but like,
no, I was just thinking, just let him celebrate. Like, let him celebrate, the poor guy. I was at the game in Guadalajara, and fair play to him. They played really well. Gabriel Caballeros is a good manager. He had them really well organized, and then he win the game, and then literally 2 minutes later, it's like, yeah, you're not going up. No chance you're going up, literally. Not even like, oh yeah, maybe if you pay this money or you upgrade your stadium, it's literally, you're not going up. No way. You've got no chance of going up. It's like,
smashed all their dreams in less than 30 seconds.
It's like,
I think actually the problem is we have a second division where out of 16 teams, I think, what is it, Tom? Only 5 or 6 actually have all the requirements to get to the Liga MX. That's just crazy. Why do you have it there? What's the point of having a team if you can't fight to get to Liga MX?
Yeah.
And then they, Cafetalero said they actually had fulfilled all the requirements, like yesterday, for example, but they're not going to make it through because they had to fulfill all the requirements at the beginning of the season. So it's like double smash their dreams in like 30 seconds. So it's just crazy. I think it's just poorly constructed from the beginning. You can't have that. You need to have teams that are solid economically and that can grow like with their football level and try to aspire to the Liga MX. What do we have in a sense? So if you can't promote yourself to Liga MX anytime.
All right, yeah. I got a question.
Yeah.
Right. If like, this summer, or to give it a bit more time, you said, right, Liga MX, 20 teams. We're going to promote. We're going to, the top 3 teams financially stable. Juarez, I don't know, Leones Negros and Celaya. Or it could be 3 others. You choose. You know what I mean? You pick 3 teams out of the second division. You say, right, closing off promotion and relegation now for 4 years. Would you accept it? Would you prefer that to what we've seen?
I mean, in comparison to what we're seeing right now, yeah. I mean, because right now everything's just completely up in the air. There's just a lot of utter confusion. So yeah, what do I think that's the answer? No, not at all. I don't think that that's the ideal situation. But if that were presented tomorrow, and if somehow we could ensure that were to happen, then I would say yes. Is that what I would want to happen? No, I don't. I don't know what Adriana's thoughts on it, but I don't know. If it were presented tomorrow, I would say yeah. But it's not my ideal solution.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that not closing off both leagues doesn't benefit one or the other. But I also think one of the problems they said is when we take away relegation for the next couple of years, what are you going to do with the other teams? I mean, there's no even the San Luis, the guys from Atlético de Madrid, they just said, why are we investing in a team that we know won't be able to promote itself to Liga MX? So what's the point of having that investment there and bringing in players and just investing in them if we know that there's not going to be any immediate future, at least for the next 2 to 4 years? So you have to think of all those players that are just going to be ending their careers in the Ascenso because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah. No, yes. And the Atlético San Luis one I forgot that one because I think that would be probably alongside Juarez as I think those 2 are the most stable and that could go up tomorrow basically and be fine. But no, it is interesting though, because I honestly think as well that what we've seen, this ridiculousness over the last few days, actually strengthens the case for closed off league. And I know that there are some owners that wouldn't be against that, you know what I mean? Because they're basically looking at MLS and they're thinking, all right, MLS started in 95, 96. How much were those franchises worth? And then you look at what they sell for now, like 100 million or something. And so the Liga MX ones are like, well, and at the end of the day, it's the owners that make the decisions. That's how we got to understand the league as well. And if the owners are making the decisions, then they're going to make decisions in favor of themselves, and that's what they've traditionally done. And that's why I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it happens.
All right. So really quickly, just to wrap up this section, I want to get some ideas from you guys. Like, if you were in charge of promotion relegation in Mexico, how would you set it? Let's start with Adriana. If you were in charge, would you keep the current system? Would you do something a little different? How would you do it?
I would probably take away, regarding the relegation, the fact that it's you have to divide the number of points you get and the number of games. I would just do it like the European system. The least number of points, you get relegated to the descenso. It would be way more attractive. Many teams, Chivas would be maybe relegated. America had a terrible season where they were last place as well. And the whole point of this relegation system was exactly made to protect those bigger teams. But if you actually had teams with the possibility of being relegated and being able to promote themselves just as fast, maybe it would be a more interesting Mexican league as a whole. But yeah, obviously the economical interests behind those decisions, they're going to protect them as much as they can. So they don't want Pumas going to the second division. They don't want Chivas or America doing it as well. So disregarding that, I think that would be probably a more attractive league as a whole.
And you're saying over a full year or every season?
No, full year. Yeah.
Full year? Okay. Tom, your thoughts?
No, yeah, I mean that'd be the ideal, but I mean, but the counter argument is that, and what the owners say is that there aren't enough people investing in football in Mexico to have 2 strong divisions. I mean, it's worth discussing their side as well, because at the end of the day,
couldn't you make the argument if a Chivas were to go down, then wouldn't there be more investment in the second division if you were to have a bigger club down there? More people would be going to those second division games. More attention would be given to to those second division clubs. Like by big club actually making its way down, by having a more open system, that would help the second division, right?
Well, yeah, not just that though. I mean, just the fact that there's a fluid way of going up based on the sporting side of things, based on teams being the best. Because at the minute, there's no guarantee you can be the best team in the Ascenso for 4 years and never get promoted, like León before they got promoted. I mean, they were just, and it's like, if you're an investor, you look at that and you think, well, why would I invest with that? Atlético San Luis, Atlético Madrid did invest. on that notion that surely at some point we'll get promoted, but there's no guarantee of that. But what I was going to say, it is worth talking and discussing and trying to understand the owner side of things. But at the end of the day, they're the ones, firstly, who make the decisions, and secondly, who invest in football. And their argument is that, if you're a Liga MX team these days, you've got under 15s, under 17s, under 20s, you got the Segunda, you've got the Liga MX Femenil now. You need big money. You've got obviously the first team. You've got clubs spending a lot of money like Tigres on buying big players. And you need a really strong foundation, if you want to be part of this league, because they want this league to be, competing with European leagues. And they're saying that if we let anybody come then it's like Lobos Buap, then it's going to be difficult. And their argument is that there aren't enough investment groups within Mexico to have two strong leagues. I mean, it's difficult because I think the evidence for their case is themselves, because some of the owners are terrible. You know what I mean? Like the Veracruzes and and even you've got people like Cholos who are not paying wages, and then Chivas haven't played and it's a weird situation. But the second division as it stands is just it's terrible. I mean, it's just not. I mean, you've got very few teams or clubs or institutions that have any quality.
I would take a big.
You actually. Sorry. I just want to point out, because maybe not everyone knows, but you actually have a second division and you have Ascenso, which is different. So you actually have like some teams that have a team in the second division, and then some others that have a team like Pachuca. Grupo Pachuca has a team in the Ascenso. So that's just like another mess to look into. But maybe what Tom says would probably be worth looking into, like trying to strengthen the U20 teams a bit more, trying to give them a break, and then trying to create all this talent that could eventually get to the first team. Because you have all these other players that are in the U20 teams, and then when they're over 20, they have to send them to the second division because they won't get a chance of playing with the first team yet. So then you have all this lost talent in between. So maybe creating a stronger U20 division would be a lot better for all the teams.
I guess I never thought about that as opposed to thinking about the Ascenso, think about the Segunda División or the U20 system. That just like, if you could focus on that as opposed to just the Ascenso. But I guess, I mean, that's just, that adds to a lot more of the confusion regarding.
But honestly, I think this is why when I think about it, this could be like a middle ground, is that you close off the first two divisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So nobody drops down from the second division and nobody comes in. You have to have another mechanism for clubs, institutions getting into the second division, the Ascenso. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so then you've got two divisions. Nobody's going anywhere. If the second division clubs are good enough, well, in 1 year you're in the first division. If the first division clubs aren't good enough, then they go down. But the second division will be a lot stronger then because there'll be interest, because the teams will be going up. There'll be the big teams will be coming down. And because at the minute, what's the point in watching this final in the next week or whenever it is against Tapachula and Oaxaca? I mean, it's like you win a bit of money. It's like there's absolutely no point to the game now.
Yeah, I mean, really quickly, if it were up to me, I would take the risk. I would say 2 teams go down, 2 teams go up. It's the winners of each Central tournament. If it's the same team, the losing finalists go into a playoff tournament. It's going to be fantastic. It'll be great. And you can have a stadium that only has an attendance of 10,000 we would allow you to go in. All right, guys, let's start.
Look at the Spanish clubs, like, was it Girona? You look at Eibar, and they're like, they're tiny. They're like, the town's only like 40, 50,000.
Yeah. So let's see. Looking at the chat right here. Ankit says Tom is back, and he has little clap emojis. Someone said, anyone here cry at the end of Infinity War? That was from Edson Lerma. No, I didn't see. I can't start getting into that movie because I haven't seen any of the Avengers movies. So I feel like if I get into this, I'm just gonna be really confused. But everyone here, they don't want to hear about Infinity War. They want us to start talking about the playoffs, guys. It's 20 minutes into the show. Let's dive into each series. Let's go into each one by one. Adriana, let's start with. I mean, you're over there in Mexico City. Let's talk about America versus Pumas first. What's the mood like out there going into this quarterfinal series?
Well, half the city is still crying over Cruz Azul, but the other half of the city is quite optimistic regarding America Pumas. We're all happy that we actually got this game because we were thinking Pumas might actually go against Tigres when they were playing on Sunday. So America, they aren't really optimistic. They know that America isn't as strong as they think it would be, even though it's second place. I think it actually had 5 games in a row between CONCACAF and Liga MX where they didn't even have a win. And then they just beat Santos with a penalty kick by Jeremy Menez, who by the way, was back from injury. So I'm not really optimistic. I don't sense a lot of optimism with the America fans, contrary to the Pumas fans who actually thought they had lost the season because they were 1 goal away from being away from the Liguilla. That was just amazing, by the way. It's actually Querétaro missed a penalty kick in the game, so they would actually have missed the Liguilla if it weren't for that kick. So I think a lot more optimism regarding Pumas. They have Nico Castillo, who has scored against America but never beaten them. And then you have America, who is actually not in the best state possible. They have a lot of criticism regarding Oribe Peralta, who has only scored 3 goals in the entire league. You have Jeremy Menez, who's back from an injury. You have Henry Martin, who's the top scorer for America with 5 goals, but was also sidelined for injury. And Cecilio Dominguez with the same situation. So it's not the strongest version of America, as everyone would think. And Pumas just, they have nothing to lose. So I think they're going to go into this game knowing that if they actually do something well against America, they'll be really strong in the semifinals.
Man, the audacity of Mané after he scored, like pointing to his name in the back of the jersey as if he's been some like key player like throughout the entire season. I don't know, that bothered me a little bit. But anywho, Tom, what are your thoughts on this series? Because I mean, like Adriana said, I mean, Pumas barely sneaked in after getting that draw against Querétaro.
I think I'd put America pretty heavy favourite for this one. You know, I know it's not been going great for them as late, and they've definitely not hit form. But it's been such a weird regular season for America because it's been like full of doubts and inconsistencies, and then you look at it and they finished second, and they lost 2 games. You know what I mean? So it's a bit like, I don't know, it's a weird one to know exactly where Club America are at, but you'd assume that with the local derby and with, you know, a championship, 6 games away potentially, that, you know, now they know it's the business end of the season. And Pumas, I mean, you know, a 1-1 draw at home to Querétaro team playing for absolutely nothing on the last day, and you could barely get the job done. Even against Santos, Patiño was saying the weekend before that, oh, you know, Pumas played really well, but to be honest, they didn't really. They were completely dominated and scraped the victory somehow. So I'd say I've got America very, very definitely winning this series.
Yeah, I think America still have plenty to prove, especially after that end to the regular season that you guys talked about. I mean, it's just, if I remember correctly, I said 1 win in their last 4 games. So that's not exactly ideal for momentum going into the playoffs. But I think if you were to look at all of the playoff teams, I would probably say, even though Morelia is the number 8 seed, I would say the Pumas are the weakest team from all the top 8. I know how you guys feel, but I do think that regardless of the fact that Nico Castillo is there, I think that they're the weakest team there. So I do think that America, with their depth too, are going to be able to push through. Adrian, do you think America is going to go through, or do you think maybe Pumas?
Yeah, I think America will go through. They have the team. They have a stronger squad. They haven't shown it, but how they say all the time, Liguilla is just another tournament. So yeah, let's see how that goes. The first game is at CEU, which Pumas usually does pretty well when they play at night. So let's see how that goes. And then the second leg will be on Saturday at 7 p.m., which actually benefits America because they've been doing terribly with their games at 9 p.m. So maybe they'll get a bigger attendance.
All right, let's see that right there. So it looks all 3 of us were saying America goes through. Let's look at another series right here. We got Monterrey versus Xolos. Adrian, let's start with you on this one. Actually, let's start with Tom because I guess we started with you on the last series. So Tom, your thoughts on Monterrey versus Xolos? Obviously, Xolos have done all right defensively, but when you look at Monterrey's attacking power, I mean, I still feel like Monterrey they're the favorites here.
Yeah, I think, you know, Tijuana have been good at home. So
that's
it.
Monterrey one away goal all season. One away goal all season.
One away goal and zero victories. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tijuana in general have a massive advantage playing on that artificial turf where they train on it as well, and so they're so used to it, and all the rest of the teams aren't, and it's very difficult to find places in other cities to replicate that surface that they play on. And even on TV, you can see the bounce is different, and the flow of the game's even different. So I mean, it's the same with Toluca. In the highest stadium in the league in terms of altitude at midday on a Sunday. I mean, it's massive. Those are big advantages that you wouldn't find in most leagues. So yeah, it's all about what Tijuana can do at home. I can't see them going away to Monterrey and doing much. I think the Monterrey fans. I think they're absolutely desperate for something now. I mean, they couldn't put away Tigres at the weekend, even though they played the whole of the second half almost with a man's advantage. So yeah, I mean, again, Monterrey very much favourite, and Tijuana, I don't know. Yeah, it's been a team that's been a bit difficult to understand this season.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who's kind of like followed Xolos like every match this season, I think it all depends on that first leg, because away from home, I just don't think they're capable of getting a win. And the manager Coca, what he likes to do is like he'll probably play even if Xolos like I would imagine even if they lose 1-0, he might even go with a 5-4-1 in the away leg, because that's what he does. He just sits back. He just lets Pablo Aguilar and Lahoud just do most of the work for Xolos and see if they can push through. So I think it all depends on the first leg here. And I think if there's any hope for Xolos to go through, it has to be in the home leg this Wednesday in the Estadio Caliente. And they have done, I mean, you do have to give them credit for doing well in the Estadio Caliente. I think the attack still needs a lot of work, but someone like Miller Bolaños has been pretty good for them during the past few weeks. So if Miller can continue to step up, if they can get a couple of goals there, then I think there's a chance. But I don't know. I just don't trust Tijuana in a two-legged series because of how. I mean, I know they don't allow a lot of goals, but they've only scored one goal in the entire regular season away from home. So I just don't trust them away from home. So I do think that Monterrey is going to go through. Adriana, your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, I think Monterrey is going to go through. I'm not sure if easily, but I think that Xolos' inconsistency will actually be something they'll take advantage of. If Tijuana can concede maybe a couple goals, being a home game or something, I'm pretty sure Monterrey will make it through. It's just way too much of an advantage. Monterrey's attack is the best in the league. They have 30 goals. And despite Xolos' defense, I'm pretty sure Monterrey will make it through. So I don't think that Tijuana will even make it througw with their home game.
Yeah.
So Monterrey I think will win both games actually.
If Tijuana does go through, then I guarantee if Tijuana's in the semis, then the two players we're going to be talking about are Pablo Aguilar and Lahoud. That's just what's going to happen if they do find a way into the next round. Those are the two guys that we're going to be talking about. Okay, now let's look at the next series here. Let's start with you, Adriana, on this. Santos versus Tigres. All eyes on Giannini. All eyes on Tuca and Gignac to see if they can really step up during the playoffs.
This one's a tough one because I actually didn't think that Santos would be a dark horse, because I actually do expect like good things from them. I think they can give Tigres a scare. However, Tigres, despite whatever they do in the regular season, they're just a whole different ballgame when it comes to the Liguilla. It's just like an entirely different team. So I actually think that just like with Xolos, I think Santos really has to make their home game be a victory, even get like a couple of goals if they can. But Tigres hasn't lost a single game in the Universitario, and that's just like a really, really tough scenario for any team. So I think it just might come down, I don't know, to the away goal difference maybe. I'm not really sure, because I think Giannini, if he has to score again, he might as well just do it this time, because Gignac and Ener Valencia and Eduardo Vargas, it just scares the hell out of anyone facing them. Yeah. So I think it's going to be really tight. I really do expect Santos to give Tigres a scare, but I think Tigres will make it through. They're just really a tough team to face in Liguilla, despite having the home game advantage taken away from them for being fifth place.
Yeah, no, they just know how to manage these games. I just think they're still, for me, the best team in the league. I mean, it's remarkable consistency given the given the way the league's run. I mean, to make so many finals, 3 consecutive finals, is absolutely amazing. And I just think they've got more quality than Santos. I think they know how to manage the game better. And I just fully expect them to come through. I mean, Gignac as well. He looks like the last couple of weeks that he's he's ready for some big performances this Liga. I mean, that goal the other day against Monterrey was pretty ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah. And I just think Tigres are just absolutely primed for me another final. I mean, for me they're the favourites for the title again. I'd back them against any one of these teams in the Liga over 2 legs. I mean, obviously not saying they're definitely going to win, but you put them against anyone, play whichever game first, home or away, and I'd just say, yeah, I'm backing Tigres there, because they're the only team really that have been so consistent for so long.
Yeah, I think a factor for the first leg in this series that both teams will be missing starters. Osvaldo Martinez got a red for Santos in their last match, and Acosta, the right back for Tigres, also got a red, if I remember correctly. So we'll see if either of those 2 players, if their absence will really hurt the team. I guess you could make an argument, say that maybe Martinez for Santos, just because of how many assists he's provided for them, that's maybe going to be the bigger miss. But I think that's something to keep an eye on. So really quickly before we go on to the next series, so I'm saying Tigres go through. Adriano, who do you say is going to go through?
Yeah, Tigres will go through.
Tigres.
You're picking up Santos there. I thought you were going to go Santos.
No, I think it'll go like a 3-2. I think it will be like a 1-goal difference.
Yeah.
Maybe a away goal difference. Maybe that would be awesome.
Really quickly,
Tigres will make it through. Yeah.
Really quickly, on the chat, Lowe's. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's weird. That's how it seems like you pronounce it. It says Araujo returned to Santos. Yes, he's now back in training with the first team, but it still seems like, unless if either of you heard something differently, it does look like he won't. If he does return to a game, it wouldn't be until the semifinals. Next, we have Toluca versus Morelia. So we're going to start with, let's see, Adriana. All right, Tom, we'll start with you on this one. In theory, you see number 1 versus number 8. You think that it should be easy for Toluca, right? But I feel like Morelia could make this a little complicated.
Yeah. I don't think there's a massive difference between the teams, to be honest. I think this is going to be a really tight series. I think Talavera is obviously come back and been really good for Toluca, and I think that could be pretty big. But yeah, I honestly don't think there's much between these teams. And obviously, Rui Diaz, massive for Morelia, and I don't know. I think this is going to be a tight one. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would really like to see Toluca, to be honest, play well. If they go through, obviously, it looks like in the semi they could get a Tigres. If everything goes as we think it probably will, then it looks like it'll be Toluca Tigres, and then I think that's going to be the big question mark. But I think it's going to be a tight series, that one.
Who's going to go through for you, Tom? Though you gotta say who's going to go through.
I think Toluca, but not by much. I don't. Yeah, not by much. I mean, put it this way: Toluca scored 2 more goals than Morelia in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about
and
how.
It
says a lot about how close these teams are. Adriana, your thoughts on this series? Because I do agree with Tom. I do think this could be a surprisingly close series. I'm not sure if Morelia has the same spark that they had last season, but I do think they'll make things difficult.
I think Toluca will make it through, definitely. I just don't see them falling to Morelia, but I do think that they might struggle a bit. Not as much as we think, because I haven't seen Morelia being the strongest team we saw like last couple of seasons with Raul Ruiz Diaz. So I think they kind of lost that offensively, but Toluca will make it through.
Yeah, I think quick thing on Morelia. I think we got to mention Roberto Hernandez, the manager now. 3 consecutive liguillas for Morelia. With a squad that it's by far the best in the league. I mean, Ruiz Diaz is looks absolute quality. But you look at apart from that, there's some good players, but it's not like they've invested loads of money in that squad. And you look around the league, you look at someone like Pachuca, who haven't made any of the last 3 liguillas, and then you look at what Morelia has done, and you think, for me, you have to give Hernandez a lot of credit for that. And honestly, in the Mexican media, you see nothing about Morelia.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about what Morelia's done.
Yeah.
No, it's
This
just
was actually a team that nobody wanted to take charge of like a year ago. They were fighting for relegation, and then they were looking for a coach, and nobody would step in. So they were like, "Oh, hey, Roberto Hernandez. Hey, I think you're like sports director or something. Hey, come on in." He just took control of the team. Nobody wanted to take control of the team. They thought they were going to be relegated. Yeah.
They were one goal away from getting relegated as well. I think that's something to keep in mind. Just one goal away. If it wasn't for Rui Diaz, we wouldn't be talking about them right now. They'd be one of those essential teams. We're like, oh yeah, if they got promoted, yeah, that'd be good. We want them in the first division, but I don't know, blah blah blah. All right, so just to recap. All right, so for me, I'm going with America. I'm going with Monterrey. I'm going with Tigres, and I'm going with Toluca. So the only true, I guess, surprise would be Tigres beating number 4 seed Santos. But I don't know if that's really an upset right there. So I'm going with the favorites here.
Definitely not an upset.
So when you look at the seedings, it does look like it. Adriana,
we had 8th place winners, and so nothing can surprise you here. So then our semifinals would be Toluca Tigres and America Monterrey. Those would be really attractive. I would really like to see those semifinals.
So are you agreeing with those 4, or do you think that it'll be other 4?
Yeah, I'd agree with those 4. No, I go with those 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Clásico Regio final again.
No, not again. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the Regio fans, but it was just like do you remember there was a time when Real Madrid and Barcelona had like 8 matches in like 3 months? I think we're having that with the Clásico Regio. It's just happening all the time.
I mean,
I don't want that because it takes away like the little spark that you're interested in. It just happens all the time. You're like, oh no, not again. I wouldn't like that at all.
Would you say you're a little biased though? Because
yeah, I am.
I guess we are literally having another Clásico Regio final right now in the Liga MX Femenil too. So maybe it is something we're seeing fairly.
Yeah, but they're different. It's a different scenario.
Tom, you're 4.
Oh yeah, the same.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I'd be surprised if it's different from that. I don't like anything. It's just, I don't know, we'll see. You expect at least one surprise result, but I can't really see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
I'm gonna write these down for next week. Hold on.
Yes, to recap.
I'm not expecting surprises.
Morelia, Tijuana, Santos.
We're gonna be here next week, and we're like, well, Santos is facing Morelia.
Dorados just got promoted for don't know really why, but.
All right, guys. So let's take a quick little break here. At least you guys will take a break because I'm going to keep talking here. Just to plug in the Patreon page. Once again, that's patreon.com/The Mexican Soccer Show. Right now, we have a lot of extra things on the side. I think Tom just put up an interview from who was that? Or did you already put that up, Tom? With the Santos?
No, pretty up tomorrow, I think.
Okay. Well, so was it the sporting director from Santos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tom puts up some interviews. I put up the occasional interview. No, I don't think anyone gave me any love for the interview I had with Ravel Morrison, which I put up there. But anyway, if you want to go back into the archives, we have that up there. But of course, the big thing is we have the Countdown to Russia podcast every week. Tom and I discuss for about 30 minutes minimum of just everything about El Tri. Last week we just talked about. For a long time about Rafa Marquez, but the week before that, once again, if you become members of our Patreon page, you can look at the fact that we talked to a German expert about the German national team, the Swedish expert, South Korean expert. We cover El Tri every single week, and this Thursday we're going to be talking about, despite the fact that everyone's going to have Liga madness, Tom and I are going to discuss some Mexican players who might be moving forward to Europe. So that's something to keep an eye on. So once again, that's patreon.com/The Mexican Soccer Show. Thank you to everyone, by the way, who are already following us on that Patreon page. But let's move on and let's look back at those who missed out on the Liga. What's it say? It says give
Caesar's interview some love.
Thank you. It even has a little heart. It's like I'm not even sure. That's incredible. All right, so let's look back at those who missed out on the Liga. and I think here's a big question, Adriana. Since you're just giving me a little love right there with the heart. I mean, for you, which team outside the top 8 proved to be the most disappointing for you?
It would have to be somewhere between Pachuca and Puebla. I was actually really excited about Puebla, just seeing them go through halfway through the season. They were a really tough team. I like the players they hired for the season. I thought they could have done a little better at the end. So I think that probably Puebla. But regarding all the players that they also hired, Pachuca just seemed like they would eventually make it. I would have loved to see Keisuke Honda facing the Liguilla, but I don't know, that the team just it lost itself halfway through the season as well.
Yeah,
so probably one of those two.
I think for me it was definitely Pachuca. I mean, look at Honda was there. Honda had 7 goals, 7 assists. I think honestly Honda was the best player on that team. Eric Gutierrez, Eric Aguirre, you had Oscar Murillo, Sagal. I know Omar Gonzalez was injured, but I know they're transitioning. I mean, Chucky clearly gone. They're still trying to phase out Conejo, and I'm unconvinced by Blanco and net, but I was fairly disappointed by Pachuca. But for you, Tom, what team comes to mind for the team that you're most disappointed by?
I think Chivas finished 17th. A year after winning the title, that's just terrible. It really is a disaster, not winning a single home game since last October. It's just not good enough. And all right, the CONCACAF Champions League kind of offset that a little bit, but it's not where Chivas want to be. Cruz Azul, made the playoffs under Paco Gemes last time. Let's not forget. They've done all right in the last few weeks, but going into like rounds of matches, they weren't in the playoff race. And I think for an institution like Cruz Azul, with Caixinha coming in, someone who knows the league, I think that's got to be classed as disappointing. Leon as well, a team that just as soon as Landon Donovan really signed, it's like completely fell apart. I mean, he wasn't even playing. It wasn't like it was his fault because he wasn't on the field, but it just coincided with the team just absolutely dropping. And the worst defense in the league, 33 goals conceded over 17 games. I mean, it's not going to win a lot of matches if you concede in an average of 2 goals a game. And Pachuca, like we mentioned, Pachuca we regularly talk about as being potentially or possibly the best institution in that Mexico has to offer. And it's all very well and good doing well with the young players and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to make the playoffs as well. And I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching at Pachuca, especially because Leon also didn't make the playoffs. Diego Alonso will see his future because he had an offer from Spain in over the winter. So I think there's going to be a lot of overturn, but it's the summer, so pretty much every club is going to look pretty different. Season. I mean, Chivas is going to look very different. Veracruz just swap the players every season anyway, so that's basically a new club. We'll see. But with Puebla, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced that this club is kind of this kind of progressive, forward thinking. I think we need to see more evidence of that.
I mean, I don't know what happened there with that. They lost 5 games in a row, right? I don't know what happened there with that team because there were signs that the team was at least worthy of finishing in the top 8, but I have no clue what happened there with that team because even one of those, if they would have won one of those games, we could be talking about them in the playoffs. But something really went wrong in that 5-game stretch where they lost all those matches.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think they're that good. I think they're a mid-table team, and that's where they finished. You know what I mean? And I thought obviously they started really brightly, and everyone started talking about them. But I don't know. We'll see because there's clubs. I don't know. For example, Atlas. If you look at the transfer policy, for me, they take risks on players. You know what I mean? So you've got that big Clifford Abugayi, and that's come off. Ravel Morrison. It's been okay. Angelo Enriquez, a complete disaster. That Alexi Ramos guy, he was playing some kind of local football siete team. That completely didn't work out. But I'm not sure if there's this we're gonna moneyball approach and go for these players that other people aren't seeing or they don't find value in. With a club like Puebla and Atlas, or really they just don't have that much money, so they just take a gamble and go to Peru. and Bolivia, and then just come up with some some cheap transfers that maybe might turn out well. I don't know, and I just think we need to see more.
Yeah, I think we covered all our bases when it comes to failures, but anything else you want to talk about? I mean, whether it be for Landon, or whether it be for Gullit at Cruz Azul, or just any other disappointments that you think were worth noting.
I was just going to say that we didn't mention Cruz Azul. I think it's just so sad that we're used to not seeing them in the Liguilla now. I mean, it's just a team that you get all these exciting players. Sometimes they actually play really well. Like the last game at the Estadio Azul, I was like, where the hell has this team been all the season? Yeah. If they would have played half the number of half the games just as well, they would have been a really, really cool team to see. They would have gotten probably a couple more wins. They would have been in the top 8. It would be amazing to see Pedro Caixinha back again in La Liguilla. But they just have all these weird things, like Tom says, that they try to get all these players, and it's when you think about all these interests that are coming in the teams. You have Veracruz, for example, that a year ago they had 40 players in their squad. So it's just when you start thinking what's going on when you're thinking about hiring players. What are you looking for? A team, probably a player that's you buy cheap, and then you think will have a great season. You'll be able to sell off a little more expensive and make a little profit. And I don't know. But yeah, probably Cruz Azul is also a huge disappointment, seeing as though it was also their last season at the Estadio Azul. It would have been amazing to see them play a Liguilla there.
Yeah, no, definitely very frustrating for Cruz Azul. I think 3 of their 5 wins arrived in the last 4 weeks. So I think that says a lot about just like I don't know why they really started to step it up really late, but it was just too late for them. And of course, I think the Landon experiment was a little bit of a failure there. I mean, 1 start, 5 sub appearances. That 1 start was against Tigres. I don't know why they decided to give him of all the teams to get the start. Oh, Tom, I think you're trying to say something. You can't hear you, Tom.
The rested players, Leon. I think did they have a cup game or something, or I can't remember now. But they definitely changed basically a lot of the team.
Okay. So I might explain that right there, but I think I saw multiple reports online. There's like a rumor that he was being paid $180,000 a month, and to be given that kind of money, I guess it's kind of a stretch to assume that maybe by him arriving and by him getting that kind of money, that kind of distracted the team a little bit. I'm not going to say that that's the case, but I do wonder in the back of my mind if that's maybe because when he first showed up, the big talking point was just, oh, like, why would they even need Landon? I mean, Leon are doing extremely well. They're scoring a bunch of goals, blah, blah, getting all these wins. So I do wonder if that's a factor. I don't think it is, but I don't know. I
think for me, the thing with Donovan that's that doesn't quite add up is that he's been fit and the manager's not played him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so what's gone on there? Like, you look at clubs and so you see a well-run club and you see a decision-making process and it kind of makes sense. It doesn't mean you buy a player and he starts straight away, but it might take a year to adapt. But Leon, bring him in, and you think that's got a lot to do with the president of the club wanting to make a statement. But then it seems like it didn't kind of translate to the manager Diaz, because the manager's never he's always been kind of polite to him, but he's not giving him a big chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean Donovan. He's, with his age and having been retired for a while, he needed to play quite a few matches.
Yeah.
And for that, you needed the manager to be on board right from the beginning and want that player to be to be playing regular minutes, and that just didn't happen. And at his age, you can't be playing just 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and then expect to be kind of the same level. So it was I don't know. It turned out to be a really strange decision, and now.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I mean, Donovan's got a big challenge. I mean, he's going away for a vacation, I imagine, and then a full preseason behind him. And really, let's see what next season brings.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we got about 10 to 15 minutes left on the show. We got a couple more topics to discuss. So let's first, Adrian, let's talk about the Femenil final. 2-2 draw after the first leg. We saw some attendance records being broken as well. So, I mean, it's all pretty good news. For Liga MX Femenil.
Yeah, the crowd was 38,230, if I remember correctly. It's a world record. Apparently, FIFA also gave them a heads up, and they were like, they did it again. Liga MX has broken a record. I think it's the 4th record that they have, and it's the first one that they actually break the attendance record in a game since 2001. So pretty exciting. I liked the game. I hated the referee. The referee was terrible. Lots of mistakes during the game. But it's just something that for the people that have actually seen other Liga MX femenil games, this is actually quite common. Not as bad though, but yeah, quite common. So hopefully we'll get another attendance record this Friday at the BBVA. I think I'm leaning a bit more towards Monterrey. I think they had a better season, but it would be really exciting to see Tigres win as well, because they had a good season last semester as well. So it would actually top off that. That would be amazing. But I think Monterrey has a slight advantage.
Yeah, let's see what happens out. Let's see if they break. Yeah, like you said, let's see if they break another attendance record, because I mean they had like you said, over 38,000 at El Volcán, and Monterrey's home stadium has what, 50,000 plus capacity there. So maybe you'll be seeing that record being broken there. So that'd be very, very cool to see. I tried to watch that first leg, but it was going on at the same time as the Xolos game. So I was like live streaming it on Facebook. I was trying to, I don't know, it was a little too chaotic, especially since Xolos needed the win there to go into the next round. Guys, let's wrap up the show talking about the Mexicans abroad really quickly. Some things that stood out, just to like list some things off here. Guardado got the assist for a game-winning goal for Real Betis, and they've now secured a Europa League spots. No goals, no start for Chicharito. He was a sub in the recent 4-1 loss for West Ham to Man City. Herrera did quite well in a recent win for Porto, and they're now pretty close to securing the league title. Over in Belgium, Ochoa's team, believe it or not, is pushing for a Champions League spot. It's kind of crazy. It's not. There's still some distance between them and that Champions League spot, but it looks like at the very least they're pushing for a Europa League spot. So that's something to keep an eye on. Well done, Standard Liège, who have done quite well in the next round. I guess you could even call that like so the Belgian season. It's like almost like an actual Ligia, or as opposed to the playoffs, they have like the top 6 teams, and then they all play in a little league together. And Standard Liège are doing quite well. So well done to Ochoa, who stopped a penalty over the weekend. And Tom, I think you want to talk a little bit about, just to wrap up the show, maybe a couple of thoughts on Chicharito. Maybe he's going to be leaving over the summer.
Oh yeah, report today that he might be going to well, he might be leaving West Ham, or he wants to leave West Ham, which isn't a surprise, because obviously if David Moyes stays on, then Chicharito and David Moyes don't really go together. Yeah. So no, but it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting. I mean, after the World Cup, 4 years until the next one, he's going to turn 30 years old, and obviously it's going to be, does he stay in Europe or does he go to MLS? I mean, yeah, I know everyone will want him to come back to Chivas, but I can't see it, to be honest. I can't see it. So we'll see. We'll see if he stays on in Europe. Maybe he goes to Spain, or goes to MLS,
to the San Jose Earthquakes. We heard it here. Tom said San Jose Earthquakes, going to Avaya Stadium, working with Chris Wondolowski up front. It's gonna be beautiful.
I tell you what, if they could get rid of Giovanni Dos Santos, because obviously last season, and I know Gio played well the other day, but you can imagine Hernandez coming in there with Ibrahimovic and stuff, and
I can't help but laugh at that. I'm sorry. I mean, like I know like it's possible. I know it's a good chance, but just the idea of Chicharito and Zlatan, just like the idea of the two of them like working together, just like these two polar opposites of just not only like. Maybe their playing style is now going to be more and more similar as they get older, but just a personality.
And physically, you would have like this giant Ibrahimovic, and then you have like Chicharito with the Ito, and I don't know, just like I don't know, that would be weird though. Yeah. Let's root for that though.
Maybe I'm rooting for that too. All right, guys. So thank you, Adriana. Thank you to Tom. Thank you to everyone who was patient enough to wait. I know we were a little late there. There's a lot of, just similar to relegation mess. There was a lot of mess trying to figure out how to start the show, who was on the show, blah, blah, blah. So it was a little crazy right there. Once again, if you want to check out our Patreon page, that's patreon.com/The Mexican Soccer Show. If you want to give us any reviews on iTunes, please feel free to do that. Once again, I have a theory that it's just Tom creating a bunch of fake accounts on iTunes, and he's the one that gives us all the good ratings there. But until next time, we'll see you all on the next Mexican soccer show. And as for those Patreon members, we'll be seeing you this week on the next edition of the Countdown to Russia podcast. All right. See you guys around. Thanks.